Okay, so what's my why? If anyone knows Simon Sinek, if you don't know who that is, go look him up on YouTube. Totally worth it. Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you about what my why is. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing the AI Marketing Club? What is that all about? Why are you so driven to get 1 million people starting their own businesses or using AI in business by the end of 2024? Now, it sounds like it's all, coin driven. It's not. It's really not. My why is because I've had a few ups and downs myself. I think anybody who says they haven't is full of BS. And also, if you look at a lot of anyone who's tracked in success in their successful journey, they've had ups and downs. It's like a roller coaster ride, guys. I mean, it's just like, life can sometimes be a four-lettered word and it can just throw stuff at you. So my why is all driven around making people as self-sustainable as possible, as quickly as possible, and part of that and cost effectively as possible. So my drive came from a personal journey that I'm going to share. I've had some serious knocks, hard knock city, I suppose you can say, where I've tried to get other concepts off the ground. And like I actually got stitched up by an incubator. Can you believe it? I mean, it's just like, really? Does that even happen? It's like, you think you could trust them, right? Because they're government-backed agency. But anyway, so be it. But I always believe that life is working for you and not against you. Okay, so I didn't understand at the time, but I now understand, because AI was coming and it's a much better thing and it's a lot easier. And I tell you what, if that other stuff had taken off, I wouldn't have had time for my kids. And I love my kids and I just want to spend as much time as I can with them, right? So I'm like, okay, that was actually why that happened, right? So aside from, I've had a few of those, not just incubators, other people as well. But anyway, as you go on. But where it really came to the fore for me was during the pandemic. Okay, I was pretty, I'm a coach as well. I'm a life coach. So I've got this wellness aspect to me too. And I'm helping all these people having major wobbles in COVID, in small businesses as well, because like, when you are a sole trader, when you are a mumpreneur, you are the business. So if you're having a wobble, so is your business. So a lot of what I do is actually life coaching or business coaching, whatever. One aspect is how, it's all the business strategy, which I've got because of all the digital marketing agency that I've got. But the other side is the wellness side, and actually all my education is in that. It's I've got a degree in psychology. I am a qualified hypnotherapist, believe it or not. I have got my master's in neurolinguistic programming, which is all about personal coaching. I've done pretty much every one of Tony Robbins' courses, or a lot of them. I'm a qualified kinesiologist. So a lot of people are like, how did you land up in digital? Like, and this is it. It's like, I have a gift. I believe that I have a gift, and I thank the universe, the, Lord, whatever label you want to call it, for this gift that I've got. I tend to see things that others don't. And whether it's in business or in personal, and then I have been blessed to be able to find solutions, or solutions come across my path where it's like, well, I can heal that. I can help you with that, okay? And whether it's in business or on a personal aspect, I do see them as the same, because like I say, we are the business. And if you've got a business, you have humans in your business and they have wobbles. So it's all part of the same thing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm very blessed in that aspect. But back to my why, what got me to the AI marketing thing was, I've always had this passion to help, if I'm really honest, like mums working from home. I found that being a mum myself, especially when I was pitching for investment, that no jokes, I don't want to be offensive to anyone who does investment, but really from my side, this is what it was like. The second that they heard that I had children under 5, I could literally hear the doors closing while I was talking to them. And I was just like, no, I haven't lost my brain. I'm still switched on. I just had a baby, that's all, So whatever that is about, I don't know, but that was a conscious thing, and it happened several times, and I was just like, all good until I mentioned something about kids, all right? And then you have this other issue of you're working from home, or I was, but I chose to do that. Or you'd like to work from home so you've got time for the children. You feel guilty because, quite often people are on one salary, the dad's working or the mum's working full-time, one of the two, and you've got this full salary, but it's not enough to pay all the bills. So you start feeling guilty about paying for stuff and earning stuff, if you're not earning effectively. And if you want a massage or you want a facial or you want to meet your friends for lunch, you start feeling guilty about that. Then you start working, and then you also feel guilty because you're not spending time with the children. So it's like this chicken and the egg thing. So I was like, you know what, there's this whole pool of women out there that are not being tapped because they don't fit in to the norm of you have to work from 9 to 5, but then that's going to be at cost to your kids. And I don't want the family unit being impacted because I see what's coming through my clinic, and I can tell you now that there's a huge issue around family unit being impacted by what I call what's known as attachment trauma, where there's not enough attention from a primary or primary giver or givers in the critical development times. So that's not to pull a guilt trip on you guys. It's just like that's what I saw coming through. And I think that that's actually only going to get worse with inflation that's happening. I really hope they're wrong. They're talking about this big global recession thing. And I really hope that doesn't happen. But it's like, how do we recession proof? How do we have it where you're earning enough money, you're self-sustainable, that irrespective of what's happening economically, politically, emotionally in your life, physically in your life, whatever is happening, it could be chaos around you, but financially you're going to be fine, you're going to be secure, you're going to be safe, okay? And I would love to have it where it's a passive earning concept, where it's like, it could be courses, it could be, so I've always had that sort of, in my back of my mind, and that's where I was going, well, that's what I was actually trying to get money for, when the doors were closing quietly in the background, and people just couldn't see that vision. They just couldn't get behind that idea. So I got a little frustrated, but now you see AI has come along and it's making it completely possible. Because in the days of where it cost, $5,000, $10,000 for a website, plus another 5 or 10 to actually market, those mums, they can't afford that. I mean, they're barely paying the bills. And I was just like, this isn't working. AI gets rid of all of that. Like, you don't need to be a designer. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to whatever. So I was very excited when this started coming online, because I was like, this is it. This is going to make my vision possible. This is going to be, I can do this. This is so exciting. And then on top of not only having the pandemic as my little, let's jolt you out of your comfort zone along with everybody else, but in year 3 of the pandemic, my husband got diagnosed with cancer. So I'll try and make this as short as possible because it's quite a gruesome story, and I don't want to adults only kind of stuff. But effectively at the end of the day, what happened is he got treated. He wasn't able to work for a year. Went in for his final op. It was supposed to be 20 minutes. It's during the pandemic, so you're not allowed to go in and see them in the hospital. I had the 2 kids. We live in Queenstown. All operations and treatment were outside of Queenstown. You can't get treated for those serious kind of things in Queenstown. You have to go to Christchurch or Dunedin, or sometimes some people go to Auckland. We were fortunate we didn't have to do that. But effectively, at the end of the day, we were in this situation of a lot of transit. Our life was completely turned upside down within 2 weeks of this announcement. And it really was like we were suddenly 2 weeks later, quite literally, in another town for I think it was 6 weeks for him to get radiation. Then he had to have chemo. Then he had a major operation. Then it was a full year, and so it was. So you've got hubby suddenly man down, never been sick. I mean, they took him off the clinics, the surgeries register, because he's not even been in for flu. So he'd never been sick in 20 years, and then suddenly this came. So it was all a bit of a shock. So we suddenly had to think on our feet, and thank goodness, as I was saying, I have my life coaching and because one of the biggest things I teach is how to deal with emotional stress. And so I was using all my tools, I really was. And now we're coming for the final op. We're thinking, phew, we're on the home straight. This is so good. We're so happy about that. And then it was supposed to be 4 days in total that he was supposed to be there. And he was saying to me after the operation, which was supposed to be 20 minutes, well, it was 20 minutes, he was going, oh, I've got this like crunching pain and it's keeping me awake. I'm in absolute agony. I've reacted to the painkiller that they gave me, which was tramadol, or tramol, some countries call it. And he said, so they've got me on Panadol, but I'm in agony. And I was like, this isn't sounding right. Anyway, so I spoke to the surgeon and whatever, and he kept reassuring me, look, that's perfectly normal. It's just stuff trying to go through because, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, okay. And after day 3, I was like, do you know what? This just isn't right, you know. So I had to leave the kids with a friend because, you know, you're not allowed to go in. You have to have the special whatever it was to be able to go and see him. So I got that, went inside, and I took one look at him, and because I do kinesiology, I just knew. I looked at him, I was like, OMG. I'm not joking, guys. His stomach was out like you can't see, like that, you know, like he was pregnant. And I was like, there's something not right here. What's that? Like, that can't be right, you know? So anyway, so I questioned it, and I asked him, I said, look, you know, I phoned the clinic, got hold of him, you know, well, you don't get to speak to them. You speak to the interns or whatever they have underneath them. And so we had this whole thing of like messages being left and nothing being implemented. And then by fortune, when I was there, on one of the visits, he came in with his entourage of students because he also teaches at the medical school here in Dunedin, which is a bit of a concern, but anyway, that's a whole different thing. Anyway, he came in and, you know, obviously wanting to look professional, and here I am, and I thought, well, this is my opportunity. I said, please, can you give him a scan, because this is not looking good. And he was adamant, guys. He was absolutely adamant. We don't need to, you know, I'm the professional, I know what I'm doing, etc., etc. And I was like, all right. And I just had to put it as politely as I could. I said, I'm really sorry. I say this to my kids. I'm not really asking. Please, can you do the scan? So he was a little disgruntled. And he said, well, we have to shift him to another hospital because we don't have that scanning machine. And I was like, you're joking. We're on private. I mean, like, we're paying through the friggin' nose for this stuff. And you don't have the scanning machine here? Are you serious? Anyway, I was like, whatever. Get him to the scanning thing. So get him into the other hospital. Now we're being biffed into the public sector because by virtue of that, we get in there. Those guys were amazing, absolutely amazing. So they took one look at him and said, okay, what meds is he on? And I said, Panadol. And they went, and I said, Panadol? They said, he should be on something stronger. And I was like, well, I thought so too, but you know, like, I'm not a doctor. So I said, what can he have? You know, and they said, well, you know, he could have morphine, he can have fentanyl. I told them about the tramadol. So they said, okay. I said, just hit him with everything because he's in so much agony. Please just give him some pain relief. So they did. And they were amazing. But effectively, long story short, he ended up going in emergency operation. And when they went in there, they found that the surgeon had stitched his intestine together, and he hasn't taken responsibility for this, but he basically said that there was a post-operative bleed, which resulted in 2.7 litres of blood in his stomach, and we only have 5 litres in our body. So I had asked the nurses and the doctors, I said, look, if we had left that, would that have come right? Like, you know, I pretty much knew the answer, to be honest. And they said, absolutely no way. He would not have been with you. And I was like, oh my God. So sorry for my swearing, but I was like, are you actually kidding me? Like, if I had not have asked for that scan, my husband would be, this was supposed to be a 20-minute operation. So what landed up, that was supposed to be a 20-minute op, landed up 7 weeks of him being in hospital fighting for his life. We nearly lost him twice. We had 2 major ops, guys, like major. It was sternum to groin. It was, and everything had got all sticky because of the blood that had leaked out. It was crazy, like crazy. So now we've gone from, we're here for 4 days, we've got the kids, I've now got work, thank God I work, you know, for myself, and I can work from wherever. So I was able to shape, shift and move, and thank God, I'm not kidding, for all my stuff that I teach through my practice. There is no way I would have coped if I didn't have all of those tools in my little toolbox, emotional toolbox, of being able to manage stress, keep on top of it all, keep my cool, keep directed, and find answers. Okay, there's no way. So we landed up 7 weeks there, and look, you know, at the end of it, he came right. But there was a moment, and it was in that moment that I went, shit, never again. And again, sorry for swearing. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. The kids were sleeping in the bed in this hotel, very nice hotel. And it was really interesting. I was having to work because what I was doing is I was seeing hubby in the hospital during the day and talking and dealing with the doctors and nurses and all of that. And then I was entertaining the kids because, you know, we hadn't expected to be there so long. So we were having to entertain them, feed them, do all the normal stuff. And then what happened was, because, you know, I was that regional business partners network provider that was part of the funding that needed to be released for tourism, the government had decided to bring the deadline forward by a month. And then they decided to do another month shorter, and guess which month it all fell in? It fell within that time that my husband was in hospital. So it could not, effectively what that meant is that if you applied for funding, okay, it would come into me and they would say, right, we want this amount of funding, you know, or I'd say, this is what you actually need, and, you know, this is the amount of funding that's available, this is what you can apply for. But I needed to be part of that process in order for them to get their funding. So without me doing that, they wouldn't have got their funding, right? So the pressure was on. There was like all these people suddenly, oh, it's not 2 months, it's now, and we need it like yesterday. So I was working until like 3 o'clock in the morning. So put the kids to bed, do 3 o'clock, up again early the next morning, looking after hubby, doing it, and rinse and repeat. Okay. It was crazy, you know, it was crazy. But I tell you what, I totally handled because of all the stuff that I learned. Lots of heavy breathing, lots of meditations. I can tell you now, it was hectic, and I'm very glad that we are out of it. Hubby, by the way, is absolutely fine. We do have to have another operation, unfortunately, again, as a result of a complication, but we're crossing fingers, it's nothing major, so we'll see. But effectively, he's alive, he's well, he's back at work, and all is groovy. But my point is that at 3 o'clock in the morning, I sat there, I looked at my kids in the bed, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. I have got to change the way I do business. I cannot do this. We should never, ever be in a situation where there isn't enough coming in naturally. We should be self-sustainable to the point where there's enough passive earn coming into our business that no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. That no matter what happens, you know, to me or my hubby, that my kids will be fine. That no matter what happens, I don't want this for me, and I never want that for anybody else. So for me, it was that whole thing of something's got to change. And that's where the AR Marketing Club came to be, because like this is the possibility that I have for other women. You don't have to be a woman, anybody, you know, who doesn't want that stress and strain, you know, and they want to have the passive earn so that they can live comfortably without stress, without the headaches of, oh my God, the inflation has gone up. Oh my God, they're talking about a recession. Oh my God, we can barely make ends meet. I don't want that for people. I don't want you to have someone who's really sick and you can't afford to pay for it. That shouldn't be. Like, we were fortunate, we were in a position where we could do that, but not everybody is. And I get that. And I just sat there, I was literally 3 o'clock, and I was like, I am never doing that again. That I'm done. So we've got the digital agency, but I'm shifting into this whole thing of how can I, not just for myself, but for as many people as I possibly can. And my goal is 1 million, ideally 1 million startups using AI by the end of 2024. I know it's a hugely ambitious goal. And Lord knows if I'm going to make it. I mean, come with me. Let's see. I'm going to try. Because I just want to have that. I just don't want that for other people. I really, really don't. It was an eye-opening moment. Anyway, thank you and namaste.